Welcome to Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, the crime critic, back with another episode for y'all. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I've dedicated the whole week to work on, and it's control issues. This week, I'm going to be working on my control issues. I know some of you probably saying like, wow, I can't believe he has control issues. But trust me, the people around me, near me, that know me, they all know that I have control issues. I didn't really want to accept that I had control or have control issues until I took a hard look at myself and realized that, I do try to control my space. I was telling myself that I was doing these types of things because, I wanted to be the best at what I'm doing. I wanted to help other people out. I wanted to whatever, right? Whatever excuse I needed to use. Subconsciously, I didn't realize I was making excuses to impose my belief, my will on other people. But basically, that's what I was doing. And when that came to my attention, when I started to see it for myself, those around me that said these things to me, I started to listen. And I'm like, everybody can't be wrong. So what is it that I can do to make myself a better person, a more genuine person, a more honest person, right? And before I get into that, let me draw the connections as to why I say that helps you become a better person, more honest person. What I call it like moving the pieces on the board. A person can manipulate situations to get what they want, right? And that's controlling the situation, right? But when you're manipulating and moving these pieces on the board, like saying this to this person or saying that to that person to get a certain outcome, especially if you're using lying and deceit and manipulation, even if you say it's manipulation for the greater good, you're being dishonest. You might be telling yourself that the outcome is going to be positive for everybody, but the process is corrupt. So if the process is corrupt, then how can the outcome be, even though it may benefit you in one way or another, financially, emotionally, whatever you want to call it, if the process is corrupt, then the outcome has to be corrupt. It's like fruit of the poisonous vine, right? That's a legal term anyway. But let me get to why I say and how I'm going about working on my control issues. Trying to control everything around you. Some people would tell you that that's okay, right? But if that's causing you to be stressed out, right? Not peaceful, not joyful, not tranquil, then I think that you're missing the point in the whole situation, right? I know for me, let me quit saying it. I know for me, when I'm focusing on trying to control the situation so that I can control the outcome, my stress level is high, right? And saying and doing whatever I need to say and do to people to get them to do what it is that I want them to do, even though I've decided that it's going to be good for them and me, is not fair and just and honest, okay? So what are the steps that I'm taking to work on my control issues? The first thing that I would recommend, I know for me that I'm doing, is I own it, right? I accept the fact that I do have control issues. Is my intent to be deceitful? No. Would that lead me to using deceitful tactics to get it done? Maybe. You feel what I'm saying? So in that, I'm being deceitful, right? I gotta own this, and owning it is being honest with yourself, okay? The next thing I do that I'm gonna be doing and working on this all week is after owning it, I'm gonna take affirmative steps to address it, right? And those affirmative steps are gonna be, the first part of that, taking affirmative steps is, in the moment, when I feel myself being tempted to control a situation or maneuver a situation, I'm gonna tell myself in that moment, stop. Wait a minute. Is this something that is gonna be helpful, genuinely helpful to the other person that you're dealing with and yourself? Genuinely helpful. Not that you want to control it just to be controlling something. Genuinely helpful. And let me give you an example, you know what I'm saying, as to why I think this is important for me to be working on, right? In some of my episodes, I talk about where I work, right? And I work in the gym, and I'm surrounded by 7 other people that I work with, 6 or 7 other people that I work with. And we get along well, in my opinion, for the most part. We have our issues like anybody else in a work environment, but we get along for the most part. But in this work environment, I try to maneuver, I was going to say manipulate, that's what I need to be saying there. I try to manipulate situations so that this area can stay peaceful, so to speak, right? And when I'm doing these things, I'm telling myself that I'm doing these things for the greater good, for the area, but which is true to an extent. But mostly I'm doing it because I'm afraid that some of the other individuals might get out of hand and cause problems in this work area. And that makes me very nervous. So I try to control the situation. I will say certain things or do certain things to move the pieces on the board. You're going to get familiar with that term coming from me, moving the pieces on the board. I'm talking about a chessboard too, okay? I move the pieces on the board to make sure that these types of things don't happen. And I tell myself that I'm doing these things for the greater good. Trust me, I really do like where I work, and I don't want this area to become the typical penitentiary area, but I'm just using this as an example as to what I do to control my surroundings. But in doing all of that, whatever it is that I'm doing to control my surroundings, I am sacrificing my peace and my tranquility. And in sacrificing my peace and tranquility, I have to ask myself, is it worth it? Maybe I need to move and get another job. Maybe I need to be more honest with the individuals that I'm working with and say, look, bro, this is not something that I feel comfortable with. Would you please stop? And as I thought about my process being affirmative in addressing my control issues, I concluded that honesty is the best way to go about it. But when you tell somebody to be honest with you, you're expecting them to have the right words to say to express what they feel in an honest way. And most of us don't have that. We'll get angry, we'll get upset, and we'll just yell it out. But when we're yelling, we cause the other person to tune out, right? So the third thing that I'm working on is finding the right words to express what it is that I feel in a way that is not threatening to the people or persons that I'm talking to, so that they'll understand my concerns, so that I don't sacrifice my tranquility, and I'm being honest in my approach. That is the key to what I'm trying to do. Finding the right words to say and express how you feel about a situation in an honest way without sacrificing your tranquility. A lot of people in prison have control issues. And if we learn to express how we feel in an honest way, in a tone that is not threatening to the people or persons that we're talking to, we won't sacrifice our tranquility, and we won't have to be so controlling. We won't have to be controlling at all about issues. People that have control issues, me, have a fear that things are going to get out of control and I'm going to be harmed. Not physically, but mentally, for the most part. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. And you have to lean back and find a way to address that in a way that, like I said, is honest in the process. And that's what I'm working on this week. And I said all of that to say this. I am challenging each and every one of you that listens to this show, whether you listen on the podcast or you listen on YouTube. I'm asking you to accept this challenge and let this week, whatever week you listen to this show, let this be a week that you address if you have control issues. Now, you know if you do, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself now. If you have control issues or you think you have control issues, sit down and ask yourself why. Why do I feel like I need to control everything around me? And if I do feel like I need to control everything around me, is it making me happy, genuinely happy, or is it stressing me out? And if it's stressing you out, I'm asking you to think about a process that you can implement that can help you maintain your tranquility and at the same time satisfy or answer the question that your mind is telling you that you're uncomfortable. You feel what I'm saying? Answer that. Because when you do that, you're going to find that you don't have to be controlling of your environment. You don't have to be controlling of the people around you. Because when you're controlling the people around you, you're not appreciating those individuals as individuals. Because we all have our concerns. And why should my concerns, my phobias, my fears, whatever, be more concerning and dominant over them? Yes, I'm concerned about myself, but the person that I'm trying to be, I want to put other people before me. So I don't want my issues to dominate and suck all the oxygen out of the room. All right? So just wanted to drop that on y'all real quick, give you something to think about. You know, this has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. Oh, before I go, let me say this too, right? I really appreciate all the support that I'm getting from each and every one of you. I really appreciate that, and I want y'all to know I don't take not one listener for granted. I really don't. And I appreciate the messages that you send, the comments that you send on YouTube, the messages that you leave on the podcast. I appreciate every one of them, and I appreciate you, you know, and I wish you the best in life. I really do. I wish you the best in life, and I appreciate you listening to what I have to say. I'm just blown away by the response that I'm getting from people out there. It means a lot. It means a lot. And I share, you know, what I'm going through. When I read the comments, I share that with some of the guys in here, and they get it just as excited as I do, knowing that there are people out there that are willing to listen to people like us and be involved in our lives. All right? So like I said, this has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, the Crime Critic, and I say peace, y'all.